everyone, my name is Agnes, and today, me, together with my friends Vanessa and Julian, will explain about PSAK 19 Intangible Asset, or in Bahasa Indonesia, we can call it as aset tak berwujud.
Okay, now I will explain about the characteristic of intangible asset. There are three. First, about there are identifiable. It means an intangible asset must either be spareable from the firm or arrive from a contractual or legal right from the which economic advantage would flow to the company in order to be identifiable. Second, they lack physical existence. It means that tangible assets have a physical forms such as property, plant and equipment, or we can say PPE. Third is about they are not monetary assets. What this means is that assets lacking physical substance include bank deposit, account receivable, and long-term investment in bonds and stock. Next, about the valuation. The valuation there are two. First is about the purchase intangible. Company record at cost intangible that we purchase from the another parties. Costs include our acquisition cost plus expenditure to make the intangible asset ready for its intended use. Typical costs there are three. First is purchase price, second legal fees, and three is about other incidental expense. And the last is the cost intangible is the fair value of the consideration given or the fair value of the intangible received, whichever is more clearly evident. Okay. This is the second valuation. It's about internally created intangibles. It means business frequently incur costs on the variety of intangible research, such as scientific or technological knowledge, market research, intellectual property, and brand names. These costs are commonly referred to as research and development, or we can say R&D costs. Intangible assets that might arise from this expenditure include patent, computer, software, copyrights, and trademarks. Okay, next is about amortization of intangibles. What it means, amortization is the allocation of the cost of intangible asset in a systematic way. Intangible have either a limited finite useful life or an indefinite useful life. Limited useful life, it means company amortize their limited life intangible by systematic charge to expense over the useful life. The useful life should reflect the period over which this asset will contribute to the cash flow. And then, indefinite useful life, it means that there is no foreseeable limit on the period of time over which the intangible asset is expected to provide the cash flow. Okay, the types of intangible assets there are six. First is marketing related to intangible asset. Usually in marketing or promotion of their product, they use the marketing related to intangible asset. For example, like trademark or trade names. What is mean the trademark or trade name? It's a word or symbol that distinguishes or identifies a particular company or product. Second is about the customer related to intangible asset. It's mean result from the interaction with the other parties. For example, like customer list. Third is about artistic related to intangible asset that is involve ownership rights to play, literary works, musical works, picture, photographs, and video or audiovisual materials. Usually, copyright we use to protect this ownership rights. What is the copyright? Copyright is a government guaranteed right that all authors, painters, musicians, and other artists have in their creation and expression. And next, contract related to intangible assets that represent the value of the rights that arise from the contractual arrangement. For example, like franchise. Franchise is a contractual arrangement under which the franchisor grants the franchise that rights to sell certain products or service, or to use the certain traits or trade names, or to perform the certain function, usually with a designated geographical area. And next is about the technology related to intangible asset. It means usually this is related to innovation and technological advance. For example, like patent. Patent is like we give the holder to the exclusive right to use, manufacture, or sell a product or process for a period of 20 years without interference by others. Okay, goodwill I will explain in the next slide. Okay, goodwill. What is goodwill? Goodwill is represent the future economic benefit arising from the other asset acquired in the business combination that are not individually identified and separately recognized. Goodwill measured as the excess of the cost of the purchase over the fair value of the identifiable net asset purchased.
So next will be the goodwill write-off. So actually, just like what I have explained before, goodwill is considered as having internal life, therefore shouldn't be amortized or write-off. Even goodwill may decrease in value over time. There is few reasons on it. First is it is hard and complex to predict the pattern of goodwill amortization, and usually goodwill amortization chart is not that useful in evaluating financial performance. But even though goodwill is not for write-off or amortized, goodwill can having an impairment treatment, and impairment treatment also considered as one of non-dispute accounting treatment for goodwill. Next is bargain purchase. In these cases, bargain purchase means when company pays less than the fair value for purchasing intangible asset, and so such situation is referred to as a bargain purchase. A bargain purchase usually caused by a market imperfection, but IASP still suggests purchaser company to record the purchase by the fair value, not the amount paid, to avoid inappropriate gain recognition by making an intentional error in measurement of asset or liabilities. Next is impairment of limited life intangible. An intangible asset is impaired when a company is not able to recover the asset's carrying amount, either through using it or by selling it. If the carrying amount is higher than the recoverable amount, the difference is an impairment loss. This actually applies the same rules with impairment of PPE. Companies should run an impairment test internally, such as performance changes, or externally, such as economic condition changes, at each statement of financial position date to compare that carrying value of the intangible asset to the recoverable amount. Next is reversal of impairment loss. Reversal of impairment loss happens when an intangible asset is no longer impaired because the recoverable amount of the asset is higher than the carrying amount.
Now I would like to explain about impairment of indefinite life intangibles other than goodwill. Companies test indefinite life intangibles, including goodwill, for impairment annually. The impairment test for indefinite life assets other than goodwill is the same as that for limited intangibles. That is, compare the recoverable amount of the intangible asset with the asset's carrying value. If the recoverable amount is less than the carrying amount, the company recognizes an impairment. Impairment of goodwill. The timing of the impairment test for goodwill is the same as that for other indefinite life intangibles. That is, companies must test goodwill at least annually. However, goodwill generates cash flow only in combination with other assets. The impairment test is conducted based on the cash generating unit to which the goodwill is assigned. Under IFRS as well as PSAK, when a company records goodwill in a business combination, it must assign the goodwill to the cash generating unit that is expected to benefit from the synergies and other benefits arising from the business combination. Research and development costs. Research and development, known as R&D costs, are not in themselves intangible assets. Frequently results in the development of patents or copyrights such as new product, process, idea, formula, composition, or literary work. Research. Costs for research must be expensed as incurred. Meanwhile, for development costs may or not be expensed as incurred. Capitalization begins when the project is far enough along in the process such that the economic benefits of the R&D project will flow to the company or the project is economically viable. The accounting for R&D activities. Costs associated with R&D activities are materials, equipment, and facilities, personnel, purchase intangibles, contract services, and indirect costs. There are also similar costs to R&D costs. For example, like startup costs for a new operation, initial operating losses, and the last one is advertising costs. These costs are expensed as incurred, similar to the accounting for R&D costs. And then the R&D cost should be disclosed, charged to expense each period in the financial report. Now, our group would like to explain a case about intangible asset in Gojek cases.
Okay, so here are the cases about Gojek. Gojek started operating in 2015 with the initial ride-sharing business. Gojek has now developed into super app or a super application that provides a complete ecosystem service for their user. Not only being a ride-sharing service provider application, Gojek also serves food delivery, goods delivery, and digital wallet providers. Until now, Gojek has been supported by quite a number of investors and large companies from Astra International, Temasek Holdings, Tencent Holdings, Google, Sequoia Capital to Warburg Pincus. TikTok previously reported that until April 2019, there were at least 24 investors and large companies that supported Gojek's funding. The various investors who have injected the funds have pushed Gojek to achieve the status of a decacorn, namely a company with a minimum valuation of USD 10 billion. In a report released by CB Insight entitled The Global Unicorn Club, Gojek is in the 19th position as the most valuable startup out of 300 startups worldwide. Gojek's valuation, which is now equivalent to 142 trillion rupiah, exchange rate of 14,200 per US dollar, is worth 14 times higher than the market capitalization of Garuda Indonesia, which is at 11.7 trillion. The question is, how can Gojek's valuation be higher than that of Garuda Indonesia, which has 142 fleet assets and assets worth USD 4.5 billion? In fact, Gojek only uses the driver partner's motorized vehicle in running its business.
Gojek's valuation is greater because business analysis in the current digital era has changed. According to him, the digital era gave birth to many new business theories and methods that were irrelevant to the previous one. Thus, business analysis has changed. Now there are also new assets in the form of intangible assets or intangible assets. These intangible assets are assets that cannot be measured and recorded on the accounting balance sheet of the company's financial statement. Gojek doesn't have a single motorbike, but its valuation exceeds that of Garuda. What are the assets? Intangible or intangible? Because it is in the form of skills, ideas, innovations, knowledge, and brand image. These assets are different from tangible assets, which are usually used as collateral for bank loans to get capital injections. Intangible assets cannot be guaranteed by banks, but are attached to a person such as skills, ideas, innovation, knowledge, and brain image.
In addition, Gojek valuation is higher because it has a large network effect value than conventional standalone companies. Gojek utilities network outside the company, namely by utilizing two-wheel or four-wheel vehicle owned by the Gojek partners. In addition, Gojek has also transformed into the ecosystem because it develops other business innovation ranging from the food delivery, business service, good delivery to digital wallet provides. The hospitality business cleaning service and also the purchase of drugs was also penetrated by Gojek. On a large scale, Gojek via Android and Apple via iOS on the iPhone actually do almost the same thing as Gojek Android phones. And iPhone take advantage of the App stores and Google Store ecosystem to build a network. So that's our video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.